Darin, brother, what a privilege it is to have you here on the show. I've loved our time of discussion and prayer before we jumped on here, but welcome to the RevRX podcast. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Chad. This is a really cool thing that you're doing, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yes, sir. I'd love for our audience just to kind of get a snapshot of who you are because there's so much to unpack there. But if you could kind of give us an elevator pitch of man, who is Darin Kinder? What would you say to that? And just kind of give us a synopsis of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. I'll start with the parts that people think are interesting, and then I'll end with the part that I think is the most important, which is,
Okay.
I'm 51 years old. That's my stage of life. I have four sons. Been married for 27 years. Um, but professionally, I started out as a high school history teacher for about 3 or 4 years, and then I became a special agent with the United States Secret Service.
Mhm.
And I was a Secret Service agent for 25 years and 4 months. I refused to give up the 4 months. I earned every bit of it. So,
There you go.
um, also, people find interesting. I'm a survivor of the 9/11 attacks in the World Trade Center
Yeah.
on September 11, 2001. All of that is. I'm an author of a new book that
Mhm.
just came out just a few weeks ago that we'll talk about. But more than anything, I'm a devoted father, a faithful husband, and a sold out believer in Jesus Christ, and that is who I am in a nutshell.
I love that. That's what's drawn me to you, brother. It is not just your career path, which is fascinating, and not just your survival on 9/11, which is an act of God that we thank Him for,
Yes.
but the fact that you are a sold out believer in Christ. And your message is one that I think that the masses need to hear. And I'm excited to bring it to my audience today. Selfishly, though, I am very, very enthralled by your Secret Service service. Is that a thing? Your
Yeah.
experience as a USSS agent. Tell us a little bit about, are there some memorable experiences that stand out to you? I know on September 14th, there was George W. Bush. I know that was memorable. We'll get to that in a minute. But you've been to 40 countries.
Mhm.
You protected dignitaries, leaders. You protected presidents, former presidents, vice presidents. What are some of the most memorable moments that you take home after those 25 years and 4 months?
Yeah. Thank you. In 4 months.
Had to add that in.
Yeah. There's a lot to reflect on, and in my last few months, I've only been retired now, like 3 months. So,
Mhm.
you do get reflective when you're moving from one stage of life or transition in life, and um, 25 plus years, like you said, 40 plus countries, protected in some part, five U.S. presidents from Clinton all the way up to Trump. So yeah, and sometimes I feel like I was the Forrest Gump of the Secret Service because every time there's like a major event or just a big turning point or something, I seem to be involved at least tangentially. So that's hard to narrow down for me. But
Oh yeah.
the foreign travel was probably my favorite part of it. In Africa, I seem to be drawn to Africa.
Mm.
I had really interesting experiences in Tanzania, in Botswana. Um, Gosh, the neighboring country is no, it's escaping me now. But Ethiopia was a big one for me. I went there about 4 times in my career,
Okay.
and on one particular trip, I got really involved in the lowland, the southern region of Ethiopia along the Omo River Valley, and man, just going from one tribe to another. I was with
Mm.
a certain former president at that point, and just fascinating. Just it's almost like getting in a time machine, right, and
Wow.
going back and these tribes, each one was different. We had this small fleet of helicopters, and we would just bounce around all over southern Ethiopia. And we'd hit one tribe, and it was like something out of National Geographic, right? Your
Mhm.
stereotypical African tribe, and what you would think you would see. And then you get in a helo, and you fly 30 minutes, and you land in another tribe, and you got guys wearing Nike shirts, and it's just and they're very westernized. They got baseball hats on and
Yeah.
stuff, and
Amazing.
it was just awesome. One moment that sticks out in my mind is I was present at the 75th anniversary ceremony of the Normandy invasion, D-Day.
Oh wow.
And that was in, gosh, now I'm testing myself, 2019, I believe.
Mhm.
That was powerful. I'm a history nerd.
Yeah.
Love history. I got just some fond memories throughout my time of going to Athens and exploring and being in the Middle East and being on the Jordan River and so
Hmm.
forth. But this one particular incident in Normandy, France, 75th anniversary. We get there 0300, like dark early, right? Just disgustingly early, and getting all situated. And President Trump was to arrive at the site later that morning, and I was literally, as the sun was coming up on June 6th, 2019. The sun's coming up. I'm standing on top of a German pillbox, a German bunker box,
Hmm.
looking over Omaha Beach.
Hmm.
And it just, as a student of history, it just took me back, like
Yeah.
exactly 75 years earlier. The same sun was coming up, and
Yeah.
there was probably several young German soldiers inside this bunker pillbox, and they're looking at 6,000 ships
Hmm.
in the strait, right, and carrying, I believe it was like 140,000 Allied soldiers, and just the awe and the majesty
Yeah.
that would be upon them. I just kind of put myself there. And then, then my next, I'm looking down as the sun's coming up and I'm looking at the strategic advantage of that high ground. It was so steep, the incline, and how narrow the beach was. And I'm thinking how difficult it would have been to exit those landing craft, get on the beach, move up the beach,
Yeah.
and try to take out these bunks. And it just, again, so then I'm thinking, wow, what an impressive group of young men it took
Right.
to storm these beaches and take these beaches. And
Hmm.
oh man, just incredibly powerful. And then on the fun side of the house, I was one of my collateral duties as a Secret Service agent was I was a rescue swimmer, a
Okay.
U.S. rescue swimmer. So, anytime a protectee would be on a boat or on a raft on a river doing something, fishing and rafting or whale watching and all kinds of things. I was part of the rescue element that was out there on the water in case something went boom or in
Hmm.
case there was just an accident or something like that. And that led to some really awesome experiences. And
I bet.
when I was on the former President Bush detail, I was one of his mountain bike riders. So he's an
Hmm.
avid mountain bike rider, and I was
Yeah.
one of the riders. So I was referred to for a short time as the recreational agent because every time we were on a bike or on the water, I was
That
there.
was you. Yeah.
Uh, so many fond memories of those more relaxed times. It's never
Hmm.
relaxed, but more, just a relaxed, a more informal setting, I guess. Tons
Informal.
of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. And it's interesting. So that span of presidents that you protected,
Mhm.
got a few Republicans, got a few Democrats.
Yep.
Politics can't go into the picture there, right? Um,
Absolutely not. Yep.
and that's foreign, I think, in our American world today. To
Hmm.
be able to be able to press out any viewpoints, beliefs, and simply protect the person that you've been tasked to protect. What was that like to just be able to have to just let all that go and do your job, or was it that
Um,
easy?
I mean, is drilled into you from day one,
Yeah.
right? I believe that the United States Secret Service to this day is still one of the few last remaining truly
Yeah.
apolitical organizations within the federal government,
Hmm.
and it has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's drilled into you from day one. You do not protect this president or that president, this president or that vice
Hmm.
president. Um, you protect the office
Mm.
of the presidency of the United States. Period.
That's good.
And the oath that you swear is to the Constitution.
Mm.
It is not to this party or that candidate or this. Nope. You swear an oath to the Constitution to protect it, to defend it from enemies, foreign and domestic.
Hmm.
So, and that's just taken very seriously. So I had, I guess, in my time, thinking through my head, yeah, three Democratic presidents,
Yeah.
two Republican presidents. Didn't matter.
Yeah.
The unofficial, they'll never say this publicly. The unofficial motto of the U.S. Secret Service was, "You elect them, we protect them."
Mm. I like that.
Period.
Yeah.
And it was that simple. So you had to stuff that. You still had to be willing to make the sacrifice. Agents, Secret Service agents most people get paid for what they do, and that's good.
Hmm.
Secret Service agents also get paid for what they're prepared to do.
Mm.
And that did not matter who was in the office.
That's right. That's right. And I imagine that would be hard, but that is just part of the job. And so I appreciate you sharing about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's fast forward a little bit. 2001. We're interviewing today on September 12th, 2025. It's the day after the 24th anniversary of 9/11. 2001, you find yourself in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize that there were 7 World Trade Center buildings
Yep, that's right.
as part of that complex. In your book, you described that, and you actually have a map, which is helpful. I'm visual. Give me a map; I can picture that better. You were in one of those, and on the morning of September 11th, you were getting dressed, preparing for your day, and I'd love to just kind of hear your tale, your take on what happened next.
Yeah, I
Your
mean,
the
we were.
Secret Service takes you there. You're in the Secret Service building.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as I make it clear in the book, I was young and dumb,
I love that.
uh, but
I'm
eager.
41 and I still feel young, and at least the second part of that, right?
So yeah, we were. I was in the locker room, the gym locker room of our gym in 7 World Trade Center, just putting on a clean suit, getting ready to tackle the day, when we felt a slight rumble, and we were being told to evacuate moments later. At that point, we dumped out onto the street, and we're literally directly across the street, 20 yards from the North Tower, the north side of the North Tower, and that's where the first plane had impacted.
Yep.
Not knowing what was going on or really the totality of the circumstances, I knew we were under attack. I knew that this was not an accident.
Yeah.
We just, Chad, we just jumped into first responder mode. I mean, this
Mm.
was not our mission set. This is not what we typically would do. It had nothing to do with our standard mission. Uh, but we chose. We made a choice to enter in, right? And what I
Right.
call do the next thing.
Yeah.
Just there's a problem, whether that's human suffering and pain in our personal lives, or there's an issue that needs to be solved in front of us. Let's just go knock it down and see what happens next. And
Yeah.
so, but that's what I was doing. We had grabbed our first aid kits. I was rendering first aid to this woman who was badly burned,
Mm.
and when this massive explosion just right over the top of my head, the second plane came in
Mhm.
like a missile with brutal precision and just obliterated that side of the South Tower. And I was, I don't know, 80 yards or so from the base. I could feel the heat
Mm.
on the back of my neck.
Mm.
Um, and so at that point, we're scattered like ants. I mean, there's debris and rain and jet fuel everywhere. And yeah, that's when the day took a turn for even the worse.
Did you realize you knew it wasn't an accident? You knew enough about history, and there'd been previous things there at the World Trade Center as well in the past. Um, were you aware that it was airplanes that had flown in, or what was your thought process through that?
Yeah, I assumed it was bombs of some nature,
Okay.
and that's the kind of the weird part of my story is all throughout the day
Yeah.
I didn't know that
Yeah.
plane, that 767 jet airliners full of jet fuel had slammed into these buildings.
Right.
Had
Right.
I known all of the facts, I may not have
Mm.
done. I'm honest about it in the book. I may not
Yeah.
have done some of the things that I did because I thought there was no way those towers could come down.
Mm.
And in fact, I told people that,
Hmm.
don't worry, these things can't come down. But even though I was on the street and that thing was right over my head, I never saw the plane or heard the plane because I had tunnel vision on my victim.
Yeah.
Many people that I work with would for years have issues, like triggering issues when they heard a jet plane that
Mm.
loud. I never heard it.
Wow.
So I never had that issue, but I didn't know. I didn't know. I knew we were under attack.
Yeah. You say in the book, and I love this, that you're honest and you're authentic and you're real. And you say, if I'd have known the full scale of what was going on, I might have chosen differently. Um, and I think that that's relatable. But you're quick to say the real heroes that day
Hmm.
were the ones who did realize exactly what was going on, and they acted anyway.
Yeah.
Can you expound on that a little bit? Because yesterday was a day of remembrance for us, and I'd just love to get your take on those first responders.
Yeah. The book is dedicated to the 422,
Yeah.
first responders who died that day in New York City, men and women who knew the cost, knew the threat, and answered the bell anyways.
Mm.
Like yesterday was a day of remembrance, and that is good. Never forget. That's the mantra. But I want to honor them. So the book, one of the objectives of the book was to honor them. But I tell everybody, and that's one of the driving forces in the book, is the way that we honor their lives is to, from this day and every day moving forward, we live lives of service and sacrifice,
That's right.
serving something greater than ourselves. And in the Christian walk, that is exponentially even more powerful. So one of the stories that I tell in the book that I believe is powerful is I was in the North Tower. We had gone in to help people escape, and we had carried a few people down. But I encountered a large group of New York City firefighters on the 30th floor or so of the North Tower. And I had a brief interaction with them, and then I decided to go back down because I had been separated from my colleagues. And as I'm going down, from the book, I heard their fire commander say, "Get your gear together, boys. We're going back up." They had already been up, and they were refitting and regrouping, and now they're going back. And that's the difference I make. The distinction that I go at lengths to make in the book is, unlike me, they knew the facts.
Yeah.
They had a much clearer, they had communication. They had a much clearer assessment. They knew the temperatures that were getting up there. And Chad, they went up anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking for 9/11 heroes, there's 422 of them.
Absolutely. I get chills when you tell that story, same as I did when I read it the first time. Absolutely incredible. The bravery and the courage, and we'll talk about courage in a minute. The courage of those guys to purposely put themselves in harm's way because there were others that needed them.
So
it doesn't get any. Yeah, so others may live. That's right. You've mentioned before, and I kind of want to hit on this a little bit, and I want to bring faith into it because a lot of what you do is you interweave. You do this in a marvelous way. You interweave your story, and you show the revelations that God's given you about your story in retrospect, and you're able to talk about faith components that are practical to our daily lives. And one of them is this doing the next thing. Your story, I find myself just, man, I feel like I could read your book in one setting because it's fast paced. Like, you're like, everybody kind of knows somewhat of the storyline, but the way you tell it, you have a way with words, and that's really incredible. But like, you find yourself rooting for you because you're like, well, what's he going to do next? What's this young and dumb guy? I'm not calling you that, but I'm using your words.
No.
What's this guy going to do next? And so you find yourself, okay, so you're doing the next thing. You're rendering aid to that person. And then you talk about Skyfall, when those buildings that you said could not fall begin to fall. The first one. And you start taking off because there's just pillars of dust everywhere. You can't see anything.
Right.
And you do the next thing, and you're trying to find your way through the dark. I want to talk about doing the next thing and how that relates to our faith. Because, man, I'm a planner. Okay, if you could see my planner, right, you would laugh at me. I'm such a planner that God's helping me with it. He's trying to help me overcome this because He's trying to show me if you plan too much, you don't leave room for the Holy Spirit. You don't leave room for my plans. But man, if I like to prepare, and in some ways, you could say that because of that, I like to have control, and I think that's maybe something we all deal with to some degree. I want to know the full story. I want to know what I'm getting into. I want to know when God calls me to do something, what the outcome's going to be. But you know what? God shows us time and time again in Scripture. That's not faith. Faith is taking the next step, doing the next thing, and trusting that God will handle the outcome. And that's kind of what you did all along that day. But how does that pertain in your eyes to our everyday lives as Christians? Sometimes we don't know the whole staircase. We just are supposed to take the next step, right?
Called to run the race that's set before us, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know the course, right? If you're a cross country runner, you've trained on that course, you know the undulations of that course, and you know when to hit it and when to hit the brakes, right? So we're running the race. I use several illustrations in the book from my personal life about riding whitewater rapids down the Arkansas River, and the madness that can ensue, but
Right.
the joy that always ensues.
Yeah.
But you don't know every turn, right? You don't know every rock that's maybe hidden one day, and a week later the water's lower, and all of a sudden you're hitting it. So, and that's the Christian walk, and
Yeah.
so we have to hold on to God's plan, but with an open hand, right? Not tight fist, but an open hand, because He's going to do with it, and all He wants is obedience.
Yeah.
And that obedience is the daily walk. That obedience is doing the next thing.
Yeah.
I picture the football dummy. I talk a lot to men's groups, right? So
Yep.
I picture that football drill where you got the dummies, right? You knock down one, and then you go to the next one. You knock it down. That's how at times we need to We need a plan. We need to have a vision, all of that. I think
sure.
Men are suited for that. You're
Right.
wired that way. But sometimes, man, he's just calling us to be faithful in the next thing. And what I did on repeat on September 11th, and that's the parallel, the illustration that I make that you're referring to is rendering first aid, entering into the North Tower, calling people to the light, fighting fires, all these things that we may get into. At the end of the day, it's a remarkable story that has to be told, and you're like, wow. But really, it's just all it is one thing stacked on top of the next. Do the next thing. Okay. Address the problem. What's the next thing? Address the problem. Address the next thing. What's the problem? Men like to address problems too. So I think at times we need to apply that to our Christian walk. We don't need to know what's around every turn. We don't need to know. We don't need to form a committee and make a 5-year plan all the time, right?
Right.
Because we get frozen in paralysis. We get frozen in indecision. We get frozen. And what God has done with me in my life is after 5 years, I write this in the book, right? After 5 years of prayer and frustration after 9/11 of what's my mission, what's my plan, what's my purpose, he just said, it's like he hit me on the back of the head and goes, just let me use you.
Wow.
In the next thing.
Yeah.
Just let me use you. Just do the next thing I have in front of you, and then do the next thing, and keep following that and keep pursuing that in that long march of obedience in the right direction. Now suddenly I'm living out his will and his purpose for my life by doing the next thing.
That's it. Yeah. That's where the magic lies, I think. And that's something I've had to learn the hard way a few times. and I think we need constant reminders, but that's exactly what I shared with you before this. How I had plans for my life. I was going to be a pharmacist, and I was going to work in a drugstore, and I was going to retire, and then I was going to go lay on a beach somewhere and, sip pina coladas and have a great retirement. And then God called me to ministry right after I graduated pharmacy school. And I'm like, well, no, that can't be right. I'm a pharmacist. Remember, God? And he's like, well, just trust me. And in long story short, over the next little bit, I learned to just kind of take that next step, and he would provide, and then take that next step, and he would provide. And if, the truth is, if God had told me back then, 10, 15 years ago, hey, eventually, what am I going to do with that pastor pharmacist? Well, somewhere in the plans is going to be a podcast. I'd have laughed in your face, and I'd say, there's no way. I'm an introvert by nature. I don't love putting myself out there. And I would have probably found every way I could to avoid that. But by taking the steps one step at a time, and it hasn't been linear, here we are. And people say, well, Chad, where are you going to be in 5 years? I have no idea. But what I aim to do is take that next step. Going to keep doing what God told me to do last until he tells me to do something else.
And I would add on to that. And in doing that, Chad, what have you experienced? You've had successes and failures along the way, no doubt.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I can guarantee you when you're doing the next thing and being obedient and you're taking that step by step, you are experiencing joy.
Yes.
Contentment, fulfillment,
right.
Sense of mission, sense of meaning. I mean, this is not a begrudging submission to in doing these things, we also reap these benefits while we're bringing glory to God.
Well, and we realize the purpose for which we've been made. Yes. And it's not to set out on our own path. That will never fulfill us. Our ultimate fulfillment comes from living out our purpose that God gave us. And that's where we find joy.
And that's one of the greatest points I like to make to men is you, Chad, you don't determine your purpose. I don't look from within and determine what my purpose is. The Creator applies purpose to what He has created, and we're the created being, right? and He creates and He designs as a masterpiece. Ephesians 2:10. He designs us as an implement, as a tool to be used for His glory, and the Creator of the tool applies the purpose for the tool, right?
That's right.
And once we get our heads wrapped around that, we're at least headed in the right direction.
That's exactly right. And so the next thing is so important. It's important in our daily walk. It's important in our faith walk. It's important in our journey of life. And you spelled that out. That was such an awesome parallel. And as you began to do the next thing, you found yourself in situations that I'm sure you never thought you would be in, with your pants catching on fire. I thought that was just something that my mom told me, that if I told lies, my pants would catch on fire. You found yourself literally 2 times with your pants on fire, with the soles of your shoes melted. Talk to us a little bit about that as you're roaming the streets of Ground Zero, the heat is so much that
Yeah.
things are just melting around you. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. That was after the collapse of
Yeah.
both towers. So both towers had come down. I literally had a mad dash for life twice.
Yeah.
Definitely could have been, should have been taken during those each of those collapses, but I wasn't. And when I returned, me and three other agents, we returned. We had refuge in a little lobby of a bank, and we had a
Hmm.
choice. And we'll talk about this later. I'm sure courage is a choice, right? And
Yeah.
as we hit Church Street, we can turn right towards the sunlight, north, walk out of this thing,
Hmm.
or we could turn left and go back. We never discussed it. We didn't form a committee. We didn't say it. We just went left
Yeah.
because that's what we were called to do. And
Mm.
we were there for a reason, for a purpose. And when we get back to that intersection, so as you read my story and my battlefield that day was the intersection of Church and Vesey Street,
Yep.
right on the northeast corner of the World Trade Center complex. As we get there, as I write in the book, the only thing alive was fire.
Hmm.
And think about that. It is my vision of what hell must look like. The intersection was littered with ambulances and fire trucks and police cars, all on fire.
Wow.
200 floors of office space had collapsed. And every office in America has paper, right?
Right.
even more so then.
Yeah.
It seemed like every inch of the intersection was covered in paper,
Wow.
and all of it was on fire. So yes, during that time, you had to be watched every footfall. You had to be careful, and we'd say, "Hey, you're on fire! You're on fire!" And we kick it loose and kick it with it. It was insane, and yeah, that's where we decided to do the next thing there. Right?
Hmm.
We decided our little world, and we'll make a Christian application here. Our little world was on fire.
Yeah.
At that little intersection, and we decided to do something about it.
Yeah.
The next thing, right? And the next thing was this fire truck in the intersection that was not damaged. I have no idea how.
Yeah.
Well, the Lord.
Hmm.
And one of the guys I'm with, Rob, says we need to hook up a hose to that fire truck, start putting out these fires. And I was thinking to myself, that is dumb. That is stupid. We don't know what we're doing. And
Yeah.
before my negative attitude could take over, John, the other guy I'm with, says, yeah, you know what? I used to do that in high school. I think I could figure it out. And we pull the hose out, and sure enough, these two guys are throwing levers and turning knobs. And next thing you know, I've got water. My pants are on fire, and I've got water coming out of this hose. And we just became this 4-man amateur hour firefighting team.
Yeah.
And we just said with one objective, we're going to dominate the intersection.
Yeah.
Okay. And we started putting out fires, and we were bad at it at first. We got better. Boom. We just went from one vehicle to another, essentially putting out, and we're making the area safe. That was the objective. Make
Yeah.
this one little area safe so that when the professionals, all the other firefighters come in from all over parts of the city, they can come in and get to work and do what they do.
Yeah.
But in that moment, we were the only thing there
Mm.
because Chad, 343 firefighters were gone.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were erased.
When you talk about your walk there, on your
Yeah.
walk there is just bodies.
Bodies.
Looking for survivors, finding bodies.
Yep. And in doing that, and when I talk to men especially, I'm like, look, choose to enter in. There's fire going on. There's fire all around us. Issues in the culture, problems in society.
Yeah.
What is it? And here's the thing: we weren't bringing safety and security to the entire 8-block region.
Right.
God gave us this one little area of responsibility,
Yeah.
and He told us to dominate it.
Right.
With water.
Right.
And I think we can apply that over our Christian walk as well.
1,000%.
We don't have to put out every fire,
Mm-mm.
but we are designed and created as an implement, as a tool to address at least one issue, right?
Yeah.
I say it in the book all the time on repeat. This world is full of problems, and you and I were designed and created to address at least one.
Pick one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think about it too this way. Sometimes it feels overwhelming because we can't change the world.
Right.
We can't change the whole world. There's no way. We can't put out the fire everywhere. But we have a sphere of influence, you call it. We have a sphere of influence within which we are placed. And I'll say divinely placed. You are where you are on purpose, for a purpose.
Right. Amen.
You can reach people that only you can reach. I can't reach the same people as you. You can't reach the same people as me. We're placed in different places by God to bring about His purposes here on earth and to point people to Him. And I love that because sometimes it can become so overwhelming with all the problems that our world is facing. And, hey, we're we're a couple days after a lot of unrest that's come about because of the Charlie Kirk assassination and all of the things that have come from that. It feels like the world's on fire right now, if I'm honest.
Right.
And it's overwhelming. I can't fix all that. No, you're not called to fix all that. You're called to bring hope to your sphere of influence, bring the gospel to your sphere of influence, bring the water, so to speak, the living water to your
Right.
sphere of influence and put out the fires of the enemy. And if we can embrace that, we can change the world one sphere of influence at a time, right?
Absolutely. There is no silver bullet, right? If you look
Mm,
at the enormity of the darkness, this present darkness that we're living in right
yeah.
now, there's nothing, one thing I'm going to do or you're going to do that's going
Mm,
to make all that go away. And we know that ultimately it's not going away until Jesus returns,
yeah.
as it's so beautifully written in Revelation. So, um, but yeah, we can do what's in our sphere of influence. And
Yeah.
as I write in the book towards the end, that starts in our homes.
Yeah, it does.
It starts by cultivating and building into and investing the relationships, the young people that God gives us into our marriages and so forth.
Yep.
Also protecting that home that God, all that God has put under our care and under our responsibility.
Yeah.
It starts there, but it doesn't end there.
Mm-mm.
Because most men, if we're talking to men here, most men, when they think mission and meaning, they immediately go to profession.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what I'm saying. Your profession can be part of the equation
Right.
for sure.
It's part of your
For
sphere of
for many,
influence.
for many people, your profession is your passion, and it is addressing an issue or something that you feel passionate.
Right.
Great, that's
Right.
awesome. For other people, your profession funds your passion
Yeah.
that allows you to enter in and address issues and so forth. It can be an and. It doesn't have to be an either or. It's an and both, right?
Right. Right.
So absolutely. But yeah, what is your sphere of influence? What is the
Mm.
area of responsibility? That's a military term, right? Your
Yep.
AOR.
Yep.
What is your area of responsibility that the Lord has given you? Now, spend the rest of your days just expending yourself, going to bed tired at night, expending yourself, building into, protecting, investing, and putting out the fires that are in front of you.
Yeah. Love it. And you mentioned darkness. And I want to stay there a minute because there's a place in the book where there is literal darkness. After the towers fell, and you experienced this twice, the first one, and then you were able to work your way through that, and then the second time as well, retreating, literally running for your life through the darkness. I mean, you can't make that up. That's what it is.
Right.
We're literally living today in spiritual darkness, in a world of evil, in a world of depression and sadness and loneliness and anxiety and hate. And in the book, you found yourself in that darkness, and there were people all around you struggling through that darkness. And you had a glimpse of light. And you began to say, I can help these people. And you started yelling, come this way, follow my voice. There's light this way. And that touched my soul, brother. Because, man, what responsibility we have in our world of darkness today to live out what it looks like to be the light
Mm.
and to point to the ultimate light, who is
Right.
Jesus. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Unpack that for us. That moment where you're walking through, you're leading others, and that aha of, ooh, man, that can touch a lot of people.
Right. After my initial mad dash for life, because
Yeah.
when the first tower collapsed, I shouldn't have made it, and uh, and this large chunks of debris falling all around me, and that bright, beautiful day just becomes a dark night of horror. It's just
Mm,
pitch black. My mouth, face, lungs instantly filled with pulverized concrete and other particles, and but I'm still sprinting because stuff is still falling all around me. I'm still in the kill box, as we say in the
mm,
service. And within a few seconds later, there's nothing falling around me. So now I can walk, I can stagger. And I said out loud, Jesus, help me.
mm.
And moments later, I see light, like you
Wow.
mentioned. And I'm like, wow, what is that? And I stagger across the street. I can barely see anything. And I realize I'm looking north up a narrow alley. At the other end of that alley is light, just sunlight. And I'm like,
Mm,
sweet, let's get out of here. I'm getting out. And then But the Lord stopped me in my tracks. I didn't realize it at the time, but this is what was happening. He
Mm.
stopped me because although that blanket of debris and stuff covered all noise, blanketed all noise, it didn't blanket the screams and the
Yeah.
cries. And there were literally out of the darkness coming cries of, I can't see, I'm hurt, somebody help me,
Mm.
please help me, I can't get out of here. And so I stood in the mouth of that alley, just started to yell on repeat, follow the sound of my voice. There's
Mm.
light this way, come this way, come to me, come to me. There's light this way. And as they made their way to me, I would shoot them up the alley
Yeah.
towards the light. And so because I'm not very smart, I never realized the spiritual metaphor illustration that's there
Yeah.
until the 10-year anniversary, Chad. Like
Wow.
it's like you got it the first time you're reading it, right? It took me 10 years because uh and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like that is the spiritual calling. That is the
Yeah.
calling. That is the Great Commission. We are all called
Mm.
to be the man, to be the woman standing in the alley, pointing people to the light of life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those who follow me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. That's
Mm.
the words of Jesus. And blew me away.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, chapter 6, chapter 7, I introduce people to the light if they don't know him
Mm.
yet. And I challenge believers. We're called to be at least two things, among other things, witnesses and ambassadors.
Yep.
And a witness testifies. That's what they do.
Yep.
They testify to what they've seen or what they know.
Yeah. That's your story.
So we should be testifying what we've seen Jesus do in our life and what we know about Jesus. And then an ambassador. An ambassador lives in a foreign place but represents and speaks for a higher authority,
Mm.
and that's us. This
That's
is
it.
not our home. We live
Mm.
in a foreign place, but we represent the Almighty and powerful and loving God, and we got to be doing one of those two things, if not both.
That's right.
And that's our challenge. And I intentionally put that on the front end of the book
Yeah.
because I wanted non-believers to contend with the message, a clear presentation of the gospel,
Yep.
and have to wrestle with that for the
Yeah.
rest of the book.
Yeah.
And for believers in chapter 7, I wanted them to contend and wrestle with, hey, all of this is pointing towards mission, towards meaning. And part of that mission for me is to be a representation of the light.
That's right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't fulfill that purpose. It's unfortunate. And I don't know many people that are intentional about that, but it's just sometimes we get lost in the day to day. You call that tunnel vision. And as kind of a last little parallel, I'd like to talk about that a little bit. Tell me about the tunnel vision you had that in some ways helped you not have more traumatic experiences than you did. You mentioned that there's the jumpers that you did not witness, which I think is a good thing. You didn't see the plane flying into the building, which I imagine that was maybe one less thing to have to process.
Right.
But tunnel vision can keep us from the bigger picture sometimes, right? Can you tell us about the tunnel vision you experienced and then how that can apply to our lives?
Yeah, sure. I was on that second impact. I mean, if you remember, the second plane came in significantly lower than the first plane and hit lower. That's why that second tower is the first one that fell that day.
Right.
And so it was crazy low, just coming in screaming. I think it hit about the 70th floor or so. And I was right up next to right out in front of the building on the street of that South Tower. And I was so fixated on this woman's arm. I was irrigating her arm. She was badly burned. And this NYPD paramedic is yelling at me because I'm not doing it right or something. Classic. And I'm
Classic
doing
New
it.
Yorker, right?
Yeah, stereotypical,
Yep. Yep.
He was being helpful, let's
Yep.
say. And I'm just so focused on it that I don't hear a 767 screaming
Mm.
at low altitude. It just blows my mind. And what the only thing that shook me out of that tunnel vision was the massive explosion
Yeah.
on impact. Tunnel vision just on. I'm trying to think of the other illustration that you just used, the other time in which I had tunnel. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. I'm sorry. Oh, the jumpers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently there were jumpers all around me.
Mm.
I was spared of that. I didn't witness any. I didn't see any bodies falling, and I certainly didn't see any impact. There was agents around me in my direct vicinity that did see that and had to deal and wrestle with that. I had tunnel vision on that, but
There's also tunnel vision too. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. There's also tunnel vision too on when you were going up into the tower, and there were people who were injured. You mentioned a lady that was in the corner, and people just like they were just stepping past her, probably not being insensitive, but more so just probably focused with tunnel vision, right?
Yes, thanks for reminding me about the 10th floor. When I entered into the North Tower, there's a woman who was slumped over in the corner of the stairwell, and she was very overweight and could not evacuate herself. She was spent,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just a steady stream of people just walking right past her,
Mm-hmm.
and it struck me. I was like, what are we doing? Like, they had tunnel vision.
Yeah.
They were going, and they were going right by her. And I just, I randomly, I tried to carry her myself, and I couldn't. And I just randomly grabbed a dude by the collar, literally, and said, "Hey, I need your help." And he was like, "Oh, of course." Like,
Mm.
he was all in at that point.
Snapped them
But
out of it. Yeah.
he had tunnel vision. And so, what I've learned about tunnel vision, when we have tunnel vision in life, as it applies to life, it's almost always because we are tunneled in, focused on self,
Yeah.
and we miss so much of the good opportunities of life,
Yeah.
by focusing on self, whether that is a personal issue, like a problem, a struggle, whether it is that I'm tunnel vision, I'm locked in on getting that promotion that's going to
Mm-hmm.
get me in that office. So then in 2 years, I'm going to be at that corner office, right?
Yeah.
That's our tunnel vision. My tunnel vision is I got to have the perfect kid. When that kid screws up just a little bit, man, so whatever we're laser locked on, we may not, career is good, and the kids are good, and whatever it may be, but we lose our
Yeah.
aperture of what's going on around us. And so you can have tunnel vision on on investing everything you can into this one perfect kid, but by the way, your marriage is falling apart,
Yeah.
your house is on fire, and you
Right.
don't even know it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, there's all kinds of applications to make for that.
I see that. I see that a lot, especially in the men's coaching that I do. I see that a lot. People are fixated on one area of life. Men are fixated on one area of life, and a large part of the time, it's on their career
Mm-hmm.
or success or money or something along those lines. And everything around them is crumbling, and they wonder why they're not happy. Um, and it's just like, if you could back up and if you get the big picture of what's going on, you've got all these other fires, but here you are focused on this one thing.
Right.
And you're exactly right. And for a lot of men and for a lot of women too, for that matter, I think sometimes we could become so focused on the day to day, the struggles, the waking up and the getting the kids ready, or at least that's the season I'm in right now. The getting the kids ready for school and taking them to school and going to work and you get off and you got to eat dinner and the routine. We get up, and I've mentioned to you, my coaching business is called Man Alive because there's so many men who are living but not really alive.
Right.
I think that describes a lot of people today.
Hey,
We're
yes.
living and breathing. We're not really alive. Not the way we were intended to, because we're getting up, we're doing the routine, we're going to bed, we're on rinse and repeat.
Right.
And we're not thriving because we have tunnel vision. But if you'll ask God to open your eyes and to help you see your purpose, and it all comes full circle, doesn't it? Help you see your purpose. You weren't just here to get up, go to work, come home, go to bed, repeat, pay taxes, die.
Mm-hmm.
You were here for a purpose. And until you discover what that is, it's easy to have tunnel vision. And it's easy to kind of focus in on one part of life. But I love that. And tunnel vision is something I think that plagues a lot of us. But you have a great way of working through that in your book. I don't want to give away all of the book because I want you guys to get it. It is powerful. I'd mentioned to him that I was quite emotional when I finished this book. And I don't get that way often, but it's touching. And there's so much there to unpack. But I want to kind of close in on some things as we wrap up our time together, talking about it. And this is tough love a little bit, talking about safety and comfort. You mentioned that safety and comfort's not a calling. um, Man, that's hard. I I heard one time, and I can't remember where I heard it, but I heard one time, what if we'd prayed less for safety and comfort and more for God's will to be done regardless?
Mm-hmm.
How might that change our lives? Um, Safety and comfort. You say in your book this: safe is boring, safe is comfortable, safe is lazy. Safe does not strike fear in the heart of the enemy. Safe is not our ultimate goal, is it? But yet we pursue it above all else, it seems like. What's your
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
and in that process, we've conflated words and definitions, right? I
Mm.
mean, the culture, the society is constantly doing the Jedi mind trick. They're changing the definitions of words, right?
Yes.
And safe has become one of them,
Yeah.
where it's now synonymous with comfortable,
Yeah.
right? Where words are unsafe,
Yep.
ideas are unsafe.
Yep.
And when you think that ideas are unsafe and that words, challenging words that may challenge your own thoughts are not safe, that they are in fact dangerous,
Yeah.
and then you bleed into words and ideas are actually violence. And then you bleed into, you fight violence with violence. And that's how you have the disastrous
Yes.
consequences, the disastrous incident that happened just a couple of days ago.
Yep.
And so it starts with just polluting the definition of words, right? And
Yeah.
we're just not called to be comfortable, because here's the point I make in the book. When I read the scriptures, I don't see Jesus as comfortable,
No.
right?
He
If I
was never
just
comfortable.
look at the gospel, I
Yeah.
mean, you look at all the scriptures. Okay, let's just look at that. A lot of the scriptures, all the scriptures, Darin, that's a lot. Okay, just look at the four gospels, right? He's
Yeah.
never comfortable, right?
Mm.
He didn't have a place to lay his head. He was hunted. He was challenged in public.
Yeah.
He was chased out of town, threatened with beatings, persecuted under murderous conspiracies.
Yes.
Does any of that sound safe?
Mm.
Why? What as we see safe? Certainly, he wasn't comfortable,
Right.
right? So if if he wanted to be safe, he just would have kept to himself. He would have lived a good life as a quiet carpenter, being a good guy that everyone liked.
Yeah.
Well, Jesus wasn't obsessed with being liked.
Mm-mm.
He was obsessed with fulfilling the will of the Father.
And his purpose.
He and his purpose. He was obsessed with introducing the world to a magnitude of love that it could not
Mm.
comprehend. Right,
Yes. Yes.
because that was the will of the Father. So I don't want to be obsessed with being liked. I don't
Mm.
want to be obsessed with being comfortable. I don't want to be obsessed with I'm using air quotes, safe.
Yeah.
Safe is an illusion.
Yes.
I want to be obsessed with pursuing and following the will of God and the
Mm.
purposes He's put in my life. Because as I may not always be successful. I may not always be happy. That's
Mm-hmm.
another word that we've
Yep.
diluted.
Yep.
I may not always win. But you know what? As I say in the book, there is no safer place to be than the center of God's will,
Amen.
period.
Yep.
And I use the illustration of Dietrich Bonhoeffer in the book. I think it's just
Mm.
the perfect illustration of that playing out.
Absolutely. And safe looks different when you're in the will of the Father.
Mm-hmm.
Safe doesn't mean no harm. Safe doesn't mean comfortable life. Safe doesn't mean bed of roses.
Mm-hmm.
Safe just means God's got you. And I'm reminded that the worst that they can do in this world is to kill us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're ushered into the presence of the Father for eternity if we're a believer.
Mm-hmm.
And that hit home for me because if I'm honest with you, especially now that I've had kids, safety and comfort is a desire that I think most people have, including myself. And that's convicting. And that's not the first time that's been convicting, but this message of, God doesn't call us to be safe. God doesn't call us to be happy. God calls us to be holy. And if we're holy and if we're Christ-like and if we're in the middle of his will, we're going to have joy, which is way better than happiness.
Way better than happiness.
Yeah,
It's sustaining. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. And it doesn't matter what's going on around us. We can have that deep-seated joy.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned one thing. It doesn't strike fear in the heart of the enemy. And I want to kind of end with this. We were created to fight. There's spiritual warfare going on all around us. That's not something that I think we talk about enough. But we were created to fight. We were created. The enemy that we face is a defeated enemy, yes, but he's still enraged in a battle with us today. And I believe that we were made to have dirty suits, hence the name of your book. And we were made to put up a fight while we're here on this earth. Talk to us about dirty suits. What does that mean
Yeah.
to you? And kind of what's the full circle moment there?
Right. So the title of the book is Bury Me in a Dirty Suit. And what happened at the end of my day on September 11th was we finally found out where all the other agents were relocating, and myself and the three others I was with, as a group of four, we get into a car and we drive about 30 blocks north out of the haze and then back into the bright sunlight of the day. And we enter into this large room, and there's a large group of agents on my right that were, they looked just like we did, man. They had, as I like to say, I'm fond of saying, they had fought the good fight, right?
Yeah.
They had been in the battle, they had answered the bell. And I mean, my pants were like 3 inches shorter because they kept catching fire. My
Right.
shoes were melted. I ripped off my shirt, and someone just threw me a random T-shirt because it was, and we were all in suits, and they're all destroyed. And then I looked across the room, and there's no doubt in my mind why there was a separation down the middle. And there was a group of other colleagues that were different. Their suits were clean. They were clean suits, perfect hair, shiny shoes, whole 9 yards. And I don't say that disparagingly.
No.
I don't know the circumstances, the choices that they had. And these people were valiant warriors who went on to serve our nation well.
Right.
I say that only to make this illustration and apply it to our daily living. I could not get the dichotomy out of my mind. There were clean suits and there were dirty suits. And so the next day, I'm on my couch. I'm in September 12th. I'm in Hoboken, New Jersey. I'm sitting there with my wife. We're crying. We're praying. I'm trying to figure out what is going on. And I made a promise to God in that prayer. And I said, Lord, I want to spend the rest of my days getting my suit dirty for your glory.
Wow.
And as the prayer ended, it just rolled off my tongue. I said, Lord, you didn't take me yesterday. You could have at least twice. I'm here for you. I'm sure I want my orders. What are my orders? I'm ready to get my suit dirty for you. But I said, Lord, at the end of the prayer, I said, Lord, when I punch out of this world and into the next and you call me home, bury me in a dirty suit.
Wow.
And it just struck. And, 24 years later, that's the title of my book. And not to go on and on, but what does that mean? In the book, and as you can agree, in the last 4 chapters, I kind of get up in your face a bit.
Yeah, that's good.
But I think we all need it.
Yeah.
The men in my life, the spiritual men in my life that have gotten up in my face on things.
Yep.
I thank God for them. And what does that mean? That means that we're witnesses and ambassadors, that we share Christ consistently. What does that mean? That means that we cultivate and invest in our home and in our family and our people, in the dominion, the little sphere of influence that we've been given, and we do everything we can to protect that,
Yes.
right? Spiritually and physically. But really, in addition to all that, like I said before, this world is full of problems.
Yeah.
And you and I were created as implements to be the hands and feet of Jesus. Someone recently said, sometimes, on occasion, God will do a miracle, but he usually just makes people. He makes people to be his hands, his feet.
Yeah.
And whatever that is, discern what that is. Talk to people around you. Read the scriptures. Have the Holy Spirit speak to you. What is the problem? What is the societal issue? Men like to solve problems and get dirty, right? Drug trafficking, child sex trafficking is an issue, is near and dear to me. Homelessness, drug addiction, whatever it may be. Find some brothers, get shoulder to shoulder with some like-minded brothers, and get into that arena. Each one of those is an arena. And spend the rest of your days getting your suit dirty in some way. And you don't have to know how it's all going to play out. I have no idea how my situation is going to play out, but I am going to do the next thing. And he's called me to certain areas, and this is one of them. And so that's what it's called to get your suit dirty. And as I say in the book, this world, if we look around and just open our eyes and open our aperture and get out of that tunnel vision, is full of arenas. And in most of the arenas, they're just waiting for the gladiator to show up.
All right. Yep. And I won't ruin how you ended your book, but I loved it. And that's a teaser for you guys to go out and get it.
It's become a thing. Many people there's a certain action, and everyone is. It's becoming a call sign kind of. And I didn't plan that, but we'll
take it. I think about obedience, and that's a big part of what you're talking about too. Being obedient to the Lord in every moment, embracing your purpose, embracing your mission, not taking the easy way out, and getting your suit dirty for the cause of the kingdom. Absolutely love it. Brother, man, we could do this for hours, or at least I could.
Yeah, me
You
too.
probably run out of patience with me, but I have so many questions. Maybe we'll do a part 2 down the road. But here's what I want to say to my listeners: if you're not a believer, your world will never make sense unless you learn to accept Christ as your Savior. You will never be fulfilled. You will never find fulfillment in anything that this world has to offer. We were made for we were made for communion with our Creator. Only He can fulfill the things that your heart's searching for. And if you're a believer, I want this to encourage you to get your suit dirty. I want this to encourage you to take that next step. Do that next thing. Get rid of the tunnel vision and ask God to help you see the world as He sees it. And I can promise you, if you pray that prayer with earnestness and sincerity, He'll answer it. And you'll start to see the areas that He's called you to. So, Brother Darin, man, this has been a privilege. You guys check out Bury Me in a Dirty Suit, available wherever you find your books. I'm going to put links in the show notes as well. Darin, where can they find out more about you and your story and the work you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Like you said, you can get that book, Bury Me in a Dirty Suit, anywhere you buy books online, Amazon, of course, barnesandnoble.com, and other places. As far as me and my ministry moving forward, established this organization, called Fierce Faith. And if you read the book, you'll understand the mindset behind Fierce Faith.
Yep.
It's all about encouraging and equipping men to live out their God-given purpose, right?
Yep.
To be fierce, to strive greatly, fail greatly, win greatly, but for the kingdom, like you just said. So that's what we're doing at Fierce Faith, and that website is fierce-faith.com, fierce-faith.com. And I'm booking keynote addresses and men's conferences and churches, sermons and congregations and men's retreats and things like that. And then on the corporate side of my house, DarinKinder.com. I also do keynote addresses for like corporate settings, business settings. I take these resilience and grit and team building and doing the next thing and getting your suit dirty. What does that look like in the workplace, and to better your output and your achievement and teams and so forth in the corporate setting. So I do that as well. That's DarinKinder.com, DARIN. I spell my name correctly. No, just one R and with an I. DarinKinder.com for that. And then most of the other stuff is right there at fierce-faith.com.
And I'll put links in the show notes for those as well. But I'm convinced that you were put on this earth to share that story that you just shared. It's making a difference, brother. I want to encourage you to keep sharing that, and you keep using your platform for the kingdom. You're doing great work. The world's a better place because you're in it. Thank you, my friend. You're a blessing.
You're the best. Thanks, Chad. Let's do this again.
Yes, sir.